The first time I saw Evan, I instantly fell for him. I don't care about my identity as a rich girl. I actively pursued him, a student from a poor background. I ignored the mockery and sarcasm from those around me. Just when I thought I would finally get my wish, when we were about to get married, Evan suddenly pushed me into the sea without hesitation. It turned out that everything was a trap. Only I fell into the trap like a fool. Intense anger gave me a rebirth. I swear, in this life, I will make Evan suffer. You know what, your condescending attitude of giving to others? It's truly nauseating. My hands and feet were bound together, forced to kneel on the ground. I heard a familiar voice. I lifted my head. I couldn't believe it was Evan's words. He was the one who kept clinging to me. He was the one who always said he liked me. My body was stiff. My voice was hoarse. What are you going to do? My hair was suddenly grabbed tightly by Evan. He had a distinctly fierce smile on his face. Sophia, you are no longer useful. Just go in peace. As for the company, I will help manage it well for you. Evan released his grip. He took out a handkerchief with a hint of disgust and wiped his fingers. Then he waved his hand at the bodyguard. My mind was in a state of confusion. I could only stare blankly at his every move. He now looked noble and elegant, completely unlike the boy who was bullied at school due to his poor family background. I hadn't had a chance to react when I was suddenly thrown into the sea. In an instant, the water surged in from all directions. I held my breath. I struggled desperately, trying to break free from the ropes tied around me. The rope was knotted tightly. Evan really wanted me dead. He left me no way to survive. My strength to struggle is getting weaker. The feeling of suffocation is becoming stronger. I'm about to choke. I slowly close my eyes. My tears flow into the sea. I really hate myself. I hate myself for misjudging people. I can't distinguish between good and evil. If I could start over, I definitely wouldn't let him go. How can there be light in the sea? Although I have doubts in my heart, I still drag my tired body and swim hard towards the light. Even if there's only a glimmer of hope, I will fight to hold on to it, struggling to stay alive. Only by living can I have a chance to seek justice from him. I take a deep breath. I suddenly open my eyes. The surroundings are very familiar. White bed curtains, a faint smell of alcohol, so this is the school hospital. My good friend Lily sees that I'm awake, excitedly grabbed my shoulder, shook it vigorously. Sophia, you finally woke up. You really scared me just now. I almost got hit by my dad. I felt a bit dizzy from the shaking, but hearing the familiar voice of a good friend, tears suddenly streamed down my face. Did I really come back to life in my last life? After I got engaged to Evan, he went abroad. He said he was going to take over a company overseas. I stared blankly at Lily, so it was him. I suddenly hugged Lily tightly, as if I had just escaped from danger, and cried out loud. Sobbing, I said, Lily, that's great, I'm still alive, still alive. There's still a chance for everything. Lily was suddenly embraced. Her whole body went stiff. Her ears also turned slightly red, but she slowly reached out her hand, gently patted my back. She softly comforted me. Don't cry, I'm here for you. I will definitely protect you. I cried for a long, long time. It felt like I was pouring out all the grievances from the past. Lily let me hold her. She softly comforted me. My emotions slowly calmed down. I released my tight grip on her. I felt a bit embarrassed, although I'm still in school. My mental age is already 26. I actually cried in the arms of 19-year-old Lily for such a long time. I felt a bit embarrassed. Strangely enough, Lily didn't laugh at me. On the contrary, she gently comforted me. Could it be that Lily has also been reborn? I looked at Lily with confusion. I wanted to find something off about her. Lily was being stared at by me. Her face seemed to turn red. I found it even more interesting. He even wanted to reach out and touch her. She shot me a glare. Speak. What are you looking at? Your tears are all over the school uniform. It's so dirty. Lily turned her head. She dodged my outstretched hand. Her tone was a bit stammering and carried a hint of disdain. This was exactly how Lily looked. She hasn't changed at all. That's right. There's not just tears on it. There's also snot, I said calmly. As soon as Lily heard this, she immediately exploded with rage. She rushed over, ready to fight me. Suddenly, a cough interrupted our playful banter. I turned my head to look. I found a boy in the corner looking up at us. He had fair skin, wearing black-rimmed glasses. He looks like the kind of student that teachers like, but there is a sense of loneliness about him. As soon as I saw him, all my painful memories surged to the surface in an instant. My body started to tremble involuntarily. This is not out of fear, but out of excitement and thrill. I finally waited for the chance to take revenge. Lily immediately supported me. With a hint of worry, she said, "What's wrong with you? Are you still feeling unwell? Should we go to my family's hospital to take a look?" After saying that, Lily prepared to call the driver. I reached out to stop her, gently shook my head in a deep tone. I said, "It's fine. I'm feeling really good now." Seeing that I was staring at that boy, Lily then remembered to introduce him. "Oh, right. Sophia, thanks to this guy, he noticed you fainted and quickly carried you to the school hospital. You really should thank him properly." Lily frowned and thought for a moment. I found that I completely didn't remember this person, so I casually asked, "By the way, what was your name again?" The boy lowered his head again, not saying a word. Lily said casually, "What's wrong? Is your name a secret? Or have you suddenly lost your ability to speak?" The boy buried his head even lower, still not saying a word. "His name is Evan." I suddenly spoke up. Lily and Evan turned their heads to look at me at the same time. One looked very surprised. The other had a puzzled expression. "Don't you recognize him?" "Of course I do. He saved me in my past life. That made me have a good impression of him. Later, I helped him in both obvious and subtle ways. I helped him get a recommendation to a prestigious university. I even personally brought him into the company. That gave him the opportunity to take over the company, and it harmed me. This lifetime, I won't be that foolish again. Don't you dislike my help? Then you should really experience what it's like to have no one to help you." I slowly walked forward. I gently lifted his chin. I looked closely at his face. I smiled and said, "You are quite good-looking, but your heart isn't that good." I raised my hand. I slapped him directly. A crisp sound echoed. The room instantly fell silent. Evan's left cheek was slightly red. He looked at me coldly. There was no expression on his face. I shook my hand. "It's a pity I couldn't hit him harder. It seems my body hasn't fully recovered yet." I felt a bit dizzy, and I didn't have much strength. Lily suddenly walked over. She grabbed my hand and took a look. "It's just a little red, not swollen. After all, I couldn't exert much strength. You just woke up and hit someone. Isn't that a bit impulsive? Is your body feeling better now? What if I faint again? Who is so important? Do you have to go in person? Am I really not able to help?" Lily scolded me nonstop. At the same time, she gently massaged my reddened palm with her fingertips. I couldn't stop smiling. My eyes were curved with joy. "Don't you want to ask why I hit him? Weren't you just telling me to thank him?" Lily lowered her head. She continued to gently massage my palm. She let out a soft hum. "I hit him. So what? Don't ask so many questions. Why is your hand still so red? How about we go to the hospital to get it bandaged?" Lily looked up. She stared at me seriously. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. "Are you a bit strange? Why are you worrying so much? I haven't even reached the hospital yet. My hand will be fine. I'm doing this for you, after all. You still think I'm being overly concerned?" Lily frowned. Her expression was serious. I quickly admitted my mistake. "I was wrong. It's all for me. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Why did you hit me?" Evan stared at me tightly and asked. I pretended to think for a moment. Then I showed a mischievous smile. "It's just because I can't stand you. You really make me uncomfortable." I expressed my dislike without any disguise. Now, I returned the same words to Evan. Evan lowered his head. He looked even gloomier. Lily was a bit impatient. She said, "Stop wasting time with him. You find him unpleasant. I'll take care of it for you. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." Lily held my hand and led me outside. She said, "Let's go. I'll get you some ice to apply. This will feel more comfortable." I obediently followed her outside. She said firmly, "I have to handle this myself. Don't worry about it." All right. I'll listen to you. You have quite the temper. I wonder who you learned it from." Lily spoke gently with a hint of indulgence. I pretended to hit her, but I was immediately stopped. A cold gaze was fixed on me from behind. I turned around to look. I saw a hint of malice on Evan's face. I see now. His true nature hasn't changed. Deep down, he's just a bad person. It's a pity I didn't see through it earlier, but it's okay. Finding out now isn't too late. I shot him a cold glance. The corner of my mouth slightly turned up. I silently mouthed a few words. "It's really unbearable." Evan understood those few words. He was completely stunned. He stared blankly at the figure gradually walking away. He thought to himself, "This doesn't make sense. Things shouldn't be this way." I clearly found out everything. Sophia, the young lady, has a very simple personality. It can't be this terrible. I saved her. She should have feelings for me. How could she slap me for no reason? No way. There must be something I overlooked. Evan's gaze was deep. His face wore an expression of determination. A dull, thudding sound echoed from afar. This scene was all too familiar, but this time he shouldn't expect to get his way. I smiled and said to my friend Olivia, "Olivia, you should go back to the classroom first." I suddenly remembered I forgot something. "All right then. Class is about to start. You need to hurry up." Olivia has a very sweet appearance. A well-behaved, good student with a nice personality. I don't want her to see what happens next. I nodded and said, "Okay, I'll do my best." After seeing Olivia walk away, I walked towards the source of the sound. A few students who looked like delinquents were gathered together. They were kicking someone. This behavior is truly excessive, but I felt extremely pleased inside. If only I could accidentally kill him, that would be even better. I couldn't help but smile. Suddenly, the person being beaten saw me. He struggled to speak. "Sophia, help, save me." Hearing my name, the delinquent stopped their actions. His gaze moved back and forth between me and Evan. It seemed he was trying to determine whether Evan knew me. I turned to look at Evan. I asked softly, "Does it hurt?" Hearing me ask this, Evan's eyes seemed a bit moist. He was holding back his emotions. He slowly shook his head. He said in a deep voice, "Thank you, Sophia." His pitiful yet stubborn appearance only makes one feel more pity for him. No wonder I was fooled in my past life, just based on his acting skills. If you said he was an Oscar winner, I would believe it. Jack is the leader of that gang. I know him. He was rude to me before. As a result, he was taught a lesson by Lily several times. He was beaten up so badly he never dared again, especially after he learned about our background. He kept his distance from us. Jack stiffly turned around to find it was really me. A chill ran through his heart. He hurriedly said, "Sophia, I'm really sorry. I didn't know he was your friend. I'm sorry about that." Jack respectfully bowed to me. He even kicked the person next to him. A group of people bent down. They shouted in unison, "I'm sorry, Sophia." This big scene, it really surprised me. I couldn't help but laugh. This situation, people who don't know might think I'm a gang leader, seeing me lost in thought. Jack waved his hand. He was ready to quietly leave with a group of people. Avoid trouble. Evan struggled to crawl to the wall. He leaned against the wall. Breathing heavily, he shouted, "Come back." The voice was just right, not too loud, not too soft. Everyone could hear clearly. Jack looked troubled. He said sincerely, "Miss, I really didn't know he was your friend. If not, you can hit me a few times. Then let's forget about this. Just please don't tell Lily." Jack's last words. He spoke very cautiously. I shook my head. I saw Jack's face turn pale. His legs were trembling. Is Lily really that scary? Isn't she just someone who loves to show off? I really don't understand. Don't be nervous. What I want to say is, I don't know him. You all go back to your work. Don't mind me. Just pretend I'm not here. Additionally, he just said it doesn't hurt. Haven't you eaten? Why is there not even this little strength? I looked at them with disappointment. Jack and his brothers looked at me in surprise. They said in unison, "Ah." Evan also looked surprised. His face was filled with disbelief. What's wrong with them? Clearly said I don't know him. Why aren't they taking action? I couldn't help but mutter a few words in my heart. I fumbled in my pocket and took out the money. He said calmly, "Who hit the hardest?" That's what pleased me the most. This money belongs to whoever. This statement was like a shot of adrenaline, like a drop of water falling into a hot oil pot. Everyone immediately became excited. Oh, except for Evan. He's about to get hit. Jack cautiously kicked him, seeing that I wasn't angry. Instead, I encouraged him with my eyes. As a result, everyone felt at ease. 4 fists hit Evan simultaneously. I could still hear the sound of the wind from the punches. It seemed they put in quite a bit of effort. I saw Evan gritting his teeth in pain. His forehead was drenched in sweat. Someone was just as I wished. A punch landed on his face. Before long, Evan's face was swollen like a pig's head. It was no longer the clean, fair face it used to be. I think I heard a crack. I wonder if a bone is broken. The 4 of them were sweating profusely. In the end, they were exhausted and lying on the ground. Evan surprisingly hasn't passed out yet. Instead, he looked at me with a confused expression. I gently kicked Jack's leg. I asked with a smile, "You guys don't seem to be doing too well. It's only been a short while, and you're already struggling." Jack tried hard to stand up. His legs went weak. He almost fell. His voice was a bit weak. "Don't talk nonsense. We're the best. Brothers, get up quickly. Let's continue fighting." The others also helped each other to stand up. They were struggling just to stay upright, let alone fighting. I stuffed the money into Jack's pocket. I said helplessly, "All right, I won't make it hard for you. Just take the money and go." The four of them who were just so weak a moment ago. In the blink of an eye, he was gone. He's really fast. I walked up to Evan. I gently tapped his shoulder with my toes. I smiled slightly. I said cheerfully, "Does it still hurt this time?" Evan was lying on the ground. His eyes were fixed on me. He didn't say a word. "This is really boring. You're such a dull person." I thought he would lose his temper. I didn't expect him to be so patient. He was like a ninja. I was about to turn and leave. Suddenly, someone grabbed my ankle. He asked, "Why, I clearly saved you. Why do you hate me so much?" Evan's lip was split. It hurt when he spoke, so his voice sounded a bit strange. I squatted down. I gently lifted his chin, looking at his swollen face. I couldn't help it for a moment. I laughed out loud. Evan looked at me with a confused expression. "Yeah, logically, you saved me. I should have feelings for you. That would meet your expectations, right?" I fixed my gaze on Evan's expression. No surprise there. Evan's eyes widened slightly. He seemed surprised that I knew about this. As expected, everything from my past life was meticulously arranged by Evan. My life was ruined by him. I stood up. I lifted my other foot. I ruthlessly stepped down hard on his hand. I repeatedly crushed it. Evan gritted his teeth. He held onto my ankle tightly without letting go. He said slowly, "No, not that way. Like that, because your heart and actions are too unclean. Stop bothering me. Otherwise, every time I see you, I'll teach you a lesson," I said sternly. He still won't let go. "I'm extremely irritated," he said coldly. "Do you want to die?" Still won't let go. Evan shook his head. He insisted, "It's not what you think, actually. It's that I like you," with a bang. Evan was kicked away. He held his stomach. He curled up in pain. A look of agony appeared on his face. My ankle also loosened up. Lily's expression was gloomy. "If you keep talking nonsense, I wouldn't mind sewing your mouth shut." She took my hand, turned around and left. She didn't say a word the whole way, just kept her head down and walked ahead. I wanted to lighten the mood, so I jokingly asked, "What's wrong? Are you jealous?" Lily suddenly stopped in her tracks. She looked directly into my eyes. "Answer seriously." "That's right, I'm really jealous." "Ah, are you joking too?" My mind went blank all of a sudden. I had no idea what to do. "I'm serious." I suddenly remembered I have something to do. I have to leave first. I made up an excuse. I quickly left. My last relationship hurt me. I even lost my life. This incident made me lose confidence in love. Even with Lily, who grew up with me as a childhood friend, I don't dare to trust easily. People's hearts always change. I really can't fully trust others. I don't know how to face Lily. I've been intentionally avoiding her recently, these past few days. I've been walking alone at school, and then I have the driver pick me up to go home. Today, I feel something is off. I feel an uncomfortable sensation of being watched. I stopped in my tracks, hesitated for a moment, looked back, but found nothing. Nevertheless, I still felt an uneasy sense of foreboding. I was just about to turn around. Suddenly, someone covered my mouth. They forcibly dragged me into the school's grove. It was actually Evan. How dare he do this? I bit him hard. Then I raised my leg and kicked at his vital points. Unfortunately, Evan dodged. He even took the opportunity to pin me down. I said coldly, "If you don't want to die, let go quickly." Then his actions sent chills down my spine. Evan suddenly got closer, gently buried his head next to my neck, and even licked me with his tongue. He said in a sulky and complaining tone, "Sophia, you never used to treat me like this." My heart tightened. I had only just met Evan not long ago. How could there be any past between us? The more I think about it, the more I feel something is off. Could it be that he has come back too? No way. I can't let him discover my true thoughts. I struggle with all my might. My tone is filled with irritation. I really can't stand it. A boy actually makes this kind of sound. I'll say it again. Let go of me. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to make you unable to stay in school. I glare at him coldly. He actually goes even further. Evan smiles and lifts my chin. He looks closely at my face. His eyes are filled with memories. I look at him with disgust. Unexpectedly, he smiles even more happily. He directly lowers his head and kisses me. I widen my eyes in shock. I never expected things would turn out like this. I try hard to push him away, but I find I can't push him at all. I just wanted to bite him. He immediately senses my intention. He gently presses on the sensitive spot at my waist. I shuddered. In an instant, I felt weak all over. I could only lean against him. "Sophia, are you going to keep pretending?" Evan asked with a curious tone. Indeed, we've been together for so many years. How could he not notice? I glanced at him faintly. I said calmly, What do you want to throw me into the sea again? Upon hearing this, Evan's heart suddenly ached fiercely. He stepped forward and hugged me tightly, gently kissing my neck. Sophia, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I just couldn't accept that you saw me at my worst. The one at fault is me, not you. I really regret it. In the days without you, I felt sad every day. In the end, I chose to end my own life. I never expected to see you here again. Evan's tone is sincere. There is a hint of choking in his voice. But what does that have to do with me? Not everything can be done over again. Sophia, I truly fell in love with you. You love me too, right? Sophia, can you forgive me? I'm begging you. Evan's voice is low. His eyes are filled with tears. He looks at me with full expectation. I took the opportunity to break free from his grasp. In his expectant gaze, I raised my hand and slapped him hard. Evan, you are not worthy. I don't want to waste more words with him. I turned around and left directly. Evan tightly hugged me from behind. He said, if I die once more, will you forgive me? I stared at the grass beneath my feet. My eyes blinked not once. I said coldly, all right. I wish you would just disappear right now. Maybe then I could forgive you. Evan smiled faintly. Go ahead. All right. Let's die together. That way we can be together for eternity. Sophia, are you thinking of hanging yourself or cutting your wrists? Or taking sleeping pills? Evan is really a madman. It's one thing to put yourself in danger, but to drag me down with you is unacceptable. Don't even think about it. I bent my arm and forcefully elbowed backward. It hit Evan right in the stomach. He winced and let go of me. Evan, stop dreaming. I don't want to see you at all right now. Only when you're gone will I feel comfortable. Every time I see you, I remember the moment you pushed me into the sea. The seawater was as cold as ice. I struggled desperately, but it was completely ineffective. No one was around to save me. I can only wait in despair for death to come. My eyes are filled with tears. That was my most desperate moment. Just recalling it makes it hard for me to breathe. Evan's eyes were also red. He slowly knelt down in front of me. His voice trembled a bit. He said, Sophia, everything is my fault. You can punish me however you want. Don't leave me. Is that okay? Evan looked at me eagerly. His expression always made my heart soften. Right now, I feel uncomfortable even looking at him. I turned my head, avoiding his pretentious look. I casually said, how about this? At the party a few days later, you go on stage and kneel to apologize to me. What do you think? Evan's eyes lit up. He didn't think there was anything wrong with this at all. On the contrary, he seemed to have a hint of anticipation. He cautiously asked, okay, as long as I can do it. Can you forgive me then? I said casually, I don't believe you. Let's talk about it when it happens. I looked off into the distance absent-mindedly. Suddenly, I caught sight of a familiar figure. Just then, Lily looked up. She glanced at me, then glanced at Evan. After that, she turned and left. Don't worry, I will fulfill all your requests, Evan answered firmly. I didn't have time to pay attention to him. I went straight to chase that figure. Unexpectedly, he was walking very fast. I struggled hard to catch up with him. I gasped and questioned him. Why are you walking so fast? Is someone chasing you from behind? This time, Lily didn't retort like usual. She just slowed her pace a bit. After a long while, she hesitantly asked, you like Evan? It seems she didn't hear anything. I let out a sigh of relief. I decided to stop hiding. It's better to say things clearly, to admit my past foolishness. Yes, but that's all in the past now. I treated him wholeheartedly. He got all the benefits. In the end, he thought I was annoying. It turned out he was just using me. I had a hint of a self-mocking smile on my face. Although I've already let it go, talking about these things still makes my heart ache, especially for those hypocritical people. True feelings are hardly worth mentioning. Instead, they see it as pressure and a burden. Lily's mind was in a jumble. Her heart also ached terribly. She truly didn't want to see Sophia become this way. Although many things seem unreasonable, Sophia has always been with me. If there was anything going on between her and Evan, if there is any connection between her and Evan, I couldn't possibly not know. And also, earlier in the infirmary, Evan's behavior clearly showed it was the first time he saw her. There are still many places. I can't explain it either. Lily didn't care about any of this at all. She only noticed that Sophia looked very sad. She came closer to me, gently hugged me, gently stroked my hair. She said softly, Sophia, I'm sorry. It's my fault for not being able to protect you. Suddenly, my tears kept flowing down. Intense pain, regret, and heartache made it almost impossible for me to breathe. These emotions tightly surrounded me. No, this is not Lily's fault. She had always been trying to persuade me kindly, wanting me to understand Evan's true nature, but I couldn't listen at all back then. I would just shout at her to get lost. I completely couldn't accept any negative comments about Evan at that time. Evan was the most important person in my heart, not even my best friend compared to him. I didn't notice Lily's repeated bitter smiles. I didn't see the injuries and helplessness on her face. Maybe I actually saw it many times. I just pretended not to see it on purpose. That's it. I gradually pushed Lily further away. It's my own fault for not being good enough for her. My voice is hoarse, holding onto her collar. Even though I'm out of breath, I still speak word by word. No, you are wonderful. It's I who am not worthy of you. I'm sorry. I really regret it deeply. I regret it very much. Every time I think of how Lily was hurt by my cold words, yet she still insists on staying by my side to protect me. My heart feels like it's being pierced by countless tiny needles. Just imagining it is hard to bear. Lily at that time, how painful it must have been. My emotions are completely out of control. I can't face the person I used to be. I can't accept the one who repeatedly hurt Lily. Lily's eyes are red, looking at me with heartache. Her hands were shaking violently, but she still insisted on wiping away my tears. She said it with a feigned ease. Stop talking nonsense. You have always been excellent. You deserve the best. Lily looked at my face. Her eyes were filled with memories. Her gaze slowly moved away from my tear-streaked face. She said in a low voice, "This was all something I willingly gave, but I still worry that I am not good enough for you. The thing I regret the most is choosing to go abroad after your engagement. If I hadn't left, you wouldn't have gotten into trouble. This wouldn't have happened. I could have protected you well." Lily tightly clenched her fists. She struggled to suppress the anger and distress within her. I widened my eyes. I stared straight at her. I noticed that the careless expression on her face was gone. In its place was a mature and composed demeanor. I was momentarily stunned. It's been almost 3 years since I last saw Lily, but I recognized her at a glance. This is the grown-up Lily. My heart was in a jumble. I just stood there, dumbfounded. You're back too, seeing me like this. All foolish. Lily reached out and touched my head. She replied softly, "I was afraid you'd be bullied, so I came back to protect you." As soon as that familiar voice sounded, my tears couldn't stop flowing. I walked over quickly and hugged Lily tightly around the waist. I sincerely said, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was captivated by Evan, and I kept hurting you. I actually wanted to shamelessly ask, can you forgive me? I can't even forgive myself for being like this." I just timidly asked, Will you still leave?" Lily noticed my tension and fear. She took out a tissue, gently wiped away the tears on my face. She said softly, "Where are you?" "I'm right there. Sophia, don't worry, I'm willing to be good to you. This is what I want to do. You always deserve the best." I leaned gently against Lily's chest. My tears soaked her clothes. My emotions were fluctuating greatly. This moment felt beautifully unreal. I tightly grasped the hem of Lily's dress, fearing that this was just a dream. She could disappear at any moment. Today is the day of our family's gathering. It's also after my parents returned from their trip. This is the first time I've met them. I felt both nervous and guilty. After I passed away in my last life, I can't imagine how heartbroken my parents would be. Because I trusted, I handed over the company completely to Evan to manage. He has control of all the company's secrets. Have my parents discovered the truth about my death? Or have they always been unaware? Did the company eventually return to my father's hands? The more I think about it, the more scared I become. If my parents were deceived, the company is completely under Evan's control. What should they do? My body trembles involuntarily. It's all because of me. That has brought pain and disaster to my parents. I really can't face them. Just then, Lily's hand reached over from the side. She tightly held my hand. She looked into my eyes and said calmly, "Don't worry. I have already arranged for your parents to travel abroad. At that time, they still didn't know you had left, although I'm not sure how long I can keep this from them. But I think any delay is a good delay. Knowing that my parents are doing well, I feel much more at ease." I tightly held Lily's hand. Speak to her with sincerity. "Lily, thank you so much." Just at that moment, my parents and Lily's parents suddenly walked in. Neither Lily nor I reacted in time. The parents saw our hands intertwined. They all laughed and started teasing us. We both quickly stood up. I let go of Lily's hand. I didn't notice the momentary disappointment on her face. "Old Sophia, it seems our families will be closer now," Uncle said to my dad with a smile. Aunt looked at me with a smile as well. Upon hearing this, I didn't feel disgusted. Instead, I began to imagine days spent with Lily. But Lily immediately interrupted my thoughts. She helplessly said to her father, "Dad, don't meddle. Sophia already has someone she likes." A sharp pain hit my heart. It felt like something was crushing me hard. I slowly raised my head. I looked at her. Lily gave me a faint smile. She said softly, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." Lily came to my rescue. I should have felt relieved. But inside, it felt like being pricked by needles. I was thinking, will Lily date, hug, and kiss other girls in the future? Maybe even get married. Just thinking about these things, my heart ached so much that I couldn't breathe. The atmosphere at this family gathering was lively. Lily kept the mood upbeat. Both sets of parents were having a great time, only I seemed a bit distracted. Several times they mentioned me. I didn't even react. It was Lily who reminded me. I suddenly realized I didn't want Lily to be with anyone else, so then, who should Lily belong to? Should she belong to me? Do I still deserve her? Soon, the day of the party has arrived. These past few days, Lily and I have been interacting as usual. She always stares at me. Her gaze is filled with emotions I don't understand. This makes me feel a bit anxious. I always feel as if something is about to happen. The party has started. Although the dance is wonderful, the singing is also beautiful. But my mind is completely elsewhere. My attention is entirely focused on Lily beside me. In the dim light, Lily's profile is illuminated by the light. Her features are distinct. She appears particularly stern. Her eyes look even deeper. I quietly move my hand towards her slowly. Finally, I touched her hand. I hesitated for a moment. I gently hooked her little finger with my pinky. Her eyes were intently watching her expression. She seemed to have no reaction. She kept staring at the stage. I felt both relaxed and a bit angry. What kind of reaction is that? What is it on stage that fascinates her so much? I retracted my hand in slight anger. I poked Lily's hand hard. Then I turned my head to look at the stage as well. Suddenly, my hand was enveloped by a warm sensation. I seemed to hear Lily giggle softly. All my anger disappeared in an instant. I also started to smile foolishly. The scene suddenly became chaotic. Everyone began to discuss animatedly. What's going on? Is something happening? Why is someone running up there? Is this a planned performance? Really? But it feels a bit strange. I looked up. My gaze landed on that familiar figure on stage. I suddenly remembered. I previously asked Evan to bow and apologize at the party. He wouldn't really plan to do that, would he? I stared blankly at that figure. Can he really let go of the dignity he values the most? My hand was painfully squeezed by Lily. I turned to look at her. The expression on Lily's face made my heart ache. That kind of suffocating loneliness. Her previously clenched hand suddenly relaxed. My heart tightened suddenly. In the past, when I scolded Lily, she would have this kind of expression. I really couldn't help it. I moved closer to Lily. I gently kissed the corner of her mouth and said seriously, "I no longer like him. I only liked him because he had an interesting performance. I've always liked you." The last sentence, I said it in a fragmented way because I wasn't sure if Lily had forgiven me. I'm not sure if she still likes me. Lily didn't say anything. She just gently supported my head and kissed me softly. That lingering moment was intoxicating. At that moment, Evan walked onto the stage. He said, "I'm Evan. I'm standing here to ask for my girlfriend's forgiveness." Evan held the microphone and spoke loudly. Wow, this person is really brave. Oh my gosh, this act is so cool. Wow, this is really exciting. A chorus of cheers and screams erupted around. The atmosphere of the party instantly became lively. I gently patted Lily's hand, then intertwined my fingers with hers. Suddenly, there was a loud thud. Evan knelt down on stage. He said passionately, "Sophia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's all my fault. I'm really regretting it now. Can you forgive me? I love you. Please forgive me. Let's make up." After saying that, Evan immediately bent down and bowed his head. He didn't hesitate at all. The surroundings suddenly became eerily quiet. Everyone was stunned by his sudden action. I felt nothing but emptiness inside. I was killed by my so-called pride back then. Now look at this. He's even given up his pride, bowing down in front of so many people. In the end, Evan did this just to satisfy his own selfish desires. I held Lily's hand and walked straight out from the last row. I shook our joined hands and said with a smile, "About that farce just now. Did you find it funny?" Lily nodded with a smile. "Sophia, everything is over, this life. Evan will spend time in prison. I have handed over the evidence of him killing his abusive father to the police. I finally got my revenge, and completely destroyed his most cherished pride. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. It felt like a heavy burden was lifted off my heart. That's great. Everything has finally come to an end. I smiled at Lily. My eyes curved into crescents. I whispered, Lily, let's be together. Okay, all right. Lily leaned closer to me and gently kissed my forehead at that moment. I was completely stunned. The buildings around us collapsed and disappeared. Our bodies began to turn transparent as well. I finally realized there is no true rebirth in this world. It was Lily, paying the price with her life. I wove this dream just to help me let go of that unresolvable obsession. My eyes are moist. I trembled and asked Lily, is it worth doing this? You could have lived a long time. A long time. Lily reached out her hand. She wanted to help me wipe away my tears, but my tears have already vanished. My body is also slowly starting to disappear. Lily whispered, for you, it's worth doing anything. I can no longer suppress the love in my heart. I rushed forward and kissed her lips. In that moment, we held each other tightly. I gathered my courage and said to Lily, Lily, I love you.